The 1970 Triumph Bonneville T120 was not only the high watermark in Triumph 650 development, and the year that most people favor as the best Triumph Bonneville ever built, it was also the last year before the dreaded oil-in-frame bikes arrived, and all the problems with cash-strapped owner BSA began to surface. At this point, the Meriden factory was turning out 900 Triumph Bonnevilles a week. The 1970 Triumph Bonneville really does represent the best of what Triumph motorcycles had to offer at that point. But relative to the changing market at that time, now rife with Honda 450 DOHC and 754s, Kawasaki triples and the like, the Bonnie was sorely lacking in some key areas: number 5 speed, no disc brake and no electric starter. And now that the public was becoming accustomed to the high level of quality and a just put gas in it and go maintenance regime that the Japanese bikes offered, the 1970 Triumph Bonneville started looking like an antiquated, unreliable oil leaker that vibrated badly, and rightly so. The 1970 Triumph Bonneville T120 650 probably really is the best one ever built. It's certainly one of the prettiest. They run great, they're fast, they handle fantastic and stop well. As classic British motorcycles go, this is just about as good as it gets. Model designations remain unchanged. T120 R was the road or street version with down pipes, and T120 C was the off-road trail street scrambler. (1970) Triumph Bonneville model year changes started with engine JD 24849. Crankcase ventilation, always a problem with vertical twins where both pistons rise and fall together, was revised and the timed breather eliminated. Now the engine breathed through the primary chain case via 3 holes drilled between, then out a vent tube behind the clutch, and out a rubber hose that ran out the back along the left edge of the fender. This system yielded a second benefit by keeping the primary always well oiled, but allowing any excess oil to run back into the engine through the holes. Unified or UNF American threads continued to work their way through the engine and the entire motorcycles. Minor changes were made to cams, timing gears, tack drive, and alternator cable. Plastic plugs were added to the Amal concentric carbs to allow easy draining of the float bowls. The gearbox was extensively modified for 1970. Changes to the inner cover, selector rod, main shaft bearing, circlip, aluminum bronze shift forks with rollers replacing steel forks, new cam plate and leaf spring were all aimed at better shifting. New oil-filled ignition coils were smaller than the units they replaced. With a new frame coming for 1971, changes to the 1970 frame were minimal. A new front engine mount now had removable triangular mounting plates that bolted to the front frame rails and the nose of the engine, making it easier to put the engine in and to take out. Minor changes were made to the front forks, also soon to be obsolete. The rear brake anchor rod changed from tubing to flat steel. A chromed grab rail was welded onto the rear fender mounting loop, and the seat was lowered slightly. The colors for 1970 were astral red and silver with gold pinstriping. Fenders were again painted, this time in astral red, with the center stripe being in silver separated by pinstriping. In the end, those buyers in 1970 didn't know how good they had it. The 1971 would come late in the year and wouldn't be very well received. The 1970 Triumph Bonneville 650 really is a gorgeous bike and one of the finest, if not the finest, classic British motorcycle in the world. The Triumph Bonneville certainly would be on a very short list indeed, and as Bonnevilles go, 1970 was probably the best. It's certainly one of the most sought after today by collectors and enthusiasts alike. They're not only drop-dead gorgeous machines with loads of history, but they're fast and they handle great even by today's standards. The story continues with the 1971 model year on our page, Triumph Bonneville's oil in frame. Don't miss the beautiful bikes and the unfortunate fall of Triumph motorcycles and the entire British motorcycle industry.